Hi everyone and welcome back to SGTV. We are back in the studio with a real life person rather than on Zoom like we've been doing. Which is the last time we had you on the show, Sam, which was back in lockdown, and we had Sam from Evolt Electrical Limited joining us.
Yeah.
And so it's a pleasure to have you in the studio in person and in real life. So Sam, we've got you on the show today. We're gonna do a few episodes with you, so keep an eye out on the show for that. The first one we're gonna do with you, we're gonna be talking about the first year of running your business, so like a 101 talk really. Hopefully it's going to be of some use to you people out there for thinking about setting up your own business, branching out on your own, and hopefully Sam with his expertise can be of some use to you guys out there.
I hope so.
So Sam, anyway, first year of running your business. How long have you actually been running Evolt now?
So first started up in 2014, started with my stepfather, 50-50 sort of business, and been going really good, really enjoying it. Sort of took off on the domestic side and sort of opened up into other sort of different areas, obviously the commercial side. But I love it, absolutely love it. It's the best thing I've ever done.
But before we go, before the camera, tell me what happened with your stepdad. You said at the start you were going to do, you were supposed to do 50-50.
That's it, yeah. So basically we're a 50-50 company, so, but I'm a massive control freak, and I'm sure he'll tell you. So I like sort of going onto a job and sort of just taking hold of the whole thing, and invoicing and quoting, dealing with the customers and clients and stuff like that. And I've kind of pushed him back, which I'm sure he didn't really appreciate.
So the poor bloke's tied up somewhere.
I love it, but we are 50-50, we do it. But yeah, I'm a bit of a control freak, I'm sure he'll tell you. But,
I mean, and I said this, I'm only joking here, but I did say, in all seriousness, when you're starting your own business, and this is something you might find in your first year of running your own business, you might find you're so passionate about it and you absolutely love it. You've spent your previous time working for other people, maybe not doing things the way you want to do it, maybe not sourcing jobs the way you want to do it. So then when you've got your own baby and it's yours, if you've got that instinct to want to do it to its best abilities,
absolutely.
then that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of how it went. We were both equally involved in the company, obviously still to this day we both are, but it's just when you get that sort of thrill and passion for what you do, and you go out and you win jobs and you're bonding with these clients and you get these like sort of lovely work and great feedback that comes back from it, it's just like the best feeling in the world, and it sort of motivates you and you want more of that. So yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone, but it's just, I love it. It is my baby. Yeah. As much as it is our baby, it's my baby.
It's yours.
Yeah.
So could you tell us about your first year of running your business, and then maybe sort of tell us how it's changed from then to now?
So obviously starting first was really tough to sort of fill the diary, as anything is. When you first start, you've got to put your name out. No one really knows who you are other than your friends and family. So
who all want a discount?
Of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. That's what they do. So you put your name out. Friends and family, word of mouth. You start building up clientele. But at the start, you're not working sort of 5 days a week. You're sort of working 2, 3. So it does start off kind of slow. What we found is we were working with builders that we used to work with. Sort of the old company that I used to work for, Andy Grace, if you're watching. But he used to give us some work to fill some time up.
That's good that you've got that relationship where you can do that, though.
Yeah. I feel like you should never burn your bridges with anyone. It's always good to sort of, you weren't in the industry together, so you help each other out. So,
I think that is important, though, because we've all worked for people who, they're not your best friends. They're not, they might not be good at what they do. They might not be might not be good at managing you. And it could be tempting to be like, right, screw this, I'm out. But we're all grown-ups, we're all professionals. And like you say, you don't want to burn bridges. You might potentially get some work from this person in the future. But in your case, you had a good relationship with your previous employer anyway.
Absolutely.
Makes it even better.
It does, yeah, exactly. So I think it's really important. You kind of need that. Anyone will tell you when you first start a business, obviously the dream is you want to work Monday to Friday. You want to be every day you can get, every hour you can get. But it doesn't work like that. You have to start somewhere and you sort of build it up and eventually get it to where you want it. which at the minute, you know, we're really busy, and I'm really thankful, incredibly happy with how it is. But it takes time. You know, we've been going 8 years, and probably take a good 2-3 years to sort of get a steady sort of ongoing sort of diary that sort of go 4 to 6 weeks and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's good. I love it.
Did you have to be careful sort of with your own expenses and bills and overheads and that kind of thing if the work wasn't as consistent at the start?
Yeah, it's really, really, really scary, to be honest with you, at the start, because you always wanted to commit to everything. You always want to invest in yourself and your business. It's your baby. It's what you want to do. You know, it's really nice when the money starts rolling in and you're thinking to yourself, you know, I'm paying myself sort of minimum wage here, but I'm working for myself. I want to earn more money, but you've got to reinvest it into the company. You know, things aren't cheap, insurances, you know, van, wear and tear of the van, uniform, stuff like that. So you just sort of reinvest your money back in. You just have to build it up gradually and just keep going at it, and just, yeah, be really sensible. Yeah. And watch the pennies, basically.
Did you find though that investment turned around quite quick, whether that was keeping your image to clients, you know, clean and crisp and professional?
Yeah, I think definitely that. I mean, I've always been on the basis, myself and Lee have always gone into work thinking that we want to look professional, you know, turning up clean and tidy, do a respectable job, be polite, leave a clean site at the end. So we're always sort of giving off the impression that we are a professional company. That's what we are, that's what we offer. So something so simple like reinvesting in that image is really important for me. You know, nothing sells your company and yourself like that. You know, being professional is the most important thing.
Yeah, I can hear builders in the background saying they don't leave a clean site.
It happens all the time. Like, honestly, I mean, Lee will tell you, my business partner, he hates it. Every time on site we'll get the broom out and they always say, oh bloody hell, get the camera phone out, electrician sweeping up. But yeah, and he's like, oh bloody leave it next time.
Yeah, might as well have it.
Yeah. So,
how did you find you sourced jobs early on and then grew from that?
So we put our name out, as I say, with friends and family, and you sort of get a few sort of people coming in out the woodworks. One of my old friends, he's my brother's friend from school a long time ago. He's got his own construction company. Through social media, I put my name out there, as everyone does, and I recommend it to everyone to do so. Posting all my work, trying to get more work, and he just called me up and said, like what you do you want to give me a quote? And it kind of builds on from that.
Word of mouth as well.
Yeah, word of mouth, you know, one job leading on to several others and stuff like that. We put our name out to a few estate agents and building management companies, which is absolutely amazing for filling your diary.
Okay.
Might not be the most glamorous of jobs. You know, some tenants might request that you change a lamp or a broken socket, but it's work and it fills up your diary, and, you know,
it might lead on to other things as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're rife with like EICRs and things like that, and with the remedial works and everything coming on with the regs, obviously, lately. It's really good.
And
really
I know
good food to diary, yeah.
I know a lot of people that will turn down EICRs because they might not find it as exciting, but I know some people that's their bread and butter work, and they're happy to pay their bills.
I must admit, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's a bit like a taboo, isn't it, the EICR? And I think you're right. Some people just hate it. It's just not for them. But I think, you know, if you want to fill your diary up and you get them with a building management company, you know, they could have 100 clients on board or 100 buildings that need that work. Well, and if every single one needs remedial works, you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a foot in the door, isn't it? And like you say, if it starts off as EICR and then they might say, okay, we're happy with that, how about you guys come in and do this or do that, or I've got this that needs doing, or I've got a friend that needs something doing.
Exactly that, yeah. And that's the beauty of it. And I mean, like, everyone will know, you guys will know, it's just, you know, the job you do will lead to several others, always. You have someone come and work at your house, they do a great job, and someone talks to you and say, oh, who's done that? Next thing you know, you're working in their house. Or it's incredible. Word of mouth is so important.
Yeah, and the most important thing is whether you're advertising, word of mouth, anything, you're getting that face-to-face meeting with a potential client, and that's what they're going to remember, isn't it? So your foot's in the door at that point. So how you got there is irrelevant at that point. The fact that you're there now, and that's where it's going to go. Exactly. That's what's going to bring you more work and keep you going as a business.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was there's some people be self-employed, some people set up as a limited company. I always forget which one's which. But did you find that you had to sort of do research into the business side of things to choose where you'd set up from there?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I must admit, going into it completely blind, I was, how old was I at the time? I was 24. All the desire in the world to do this is what I want to do, you know, going in with my stepdad, like, this is what I want to do, really hungry for it. What do we do? Or do you want to be a limited company? It's like, yeah, great, what's a limited company, you know? So an accountant's a fantastic thing for things like that. I've got a really great accountant, we're really good friends with him now, and just some advice on the different structures and setups of what you do. For us, obviously, we're a limited company, have been since the start, it just worked better for us. For me, I kind of wanted to get out there in sort of builders and construction, new builds and things like that. And I think it's really important to be a limited company with VAT registration, because that's what builders work in and that's what they do. And I think it makes you look like a professional outfit, I think, as well. When you're a limited company, you've sort of got a bit of clout about it. You know, being a subcontractor, it's a man in a van. That's how I see it. I'm not saying that's how it is.
No, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, is it? It's whatever's right for you, isn't it?
So exactly that. And but for me, I was like, I want to be a company. You know, I want to have a company. I didn't want to put my name as the company. I wanted like a company name. I wanted to be this outfit and take it to any sort of opportunity. So for me, it was a limited company. And yeah, you know, pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, there's always the added benefit of dividends as well. So
yeah, there is. Yeah,
that's a whole other subject.
Exactly. We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of morals and politics, and we'll leave that one for now. But,
that's it.
But anyway.
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, no, definitely do your research on it. 100%. Look into it, and just do what's right for you, like you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing's right or wrong. You just pick what works for you.
Yeah, and I've spoken to many different tradespeople who, some of them will do their own books, but most of them, from what I know, had started out using an accountant, and they've just sort of learnt from there. But if you're happy using an accountant, then do it. You know, they're going to know more at the end of the day than what you think you might know, and they're going to be able to help you better.
It's time saving as well, massively. You know, everyone's busy. It's amazing. The industry is incredible at the minute, and you know, everyone I speak to in all trades are just absolutely blocked out, and it's incredible. So to come home on top of your quotes and your invoicing and stuff, to do all your accounts and your VAT and things like that, it's so important to have an accountant. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth the investment, definitely.
So let's go back again to the start, and then I'm guessing, like so many other people, you've probably got a budget or maybe a small business loan to get you started. Were there certain tools, equipment that you thought, right, that's what I want, but this is what I need? Was there a sort of starting point there?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, I think we both, myself and Lee, both sort of had like a pot of money together. Nothing huge, but something, you know, substantial to sort of get us going, like you say, with the certain tools and stuff. We both worked for companies at the time. He worked for a big commercial company. I was working for a domestic company at the time. So we did have our own tools. But when you're starting on your own business, you might not have the expensive tools. Something like a chasing tool and a hoover and stuff like that, you know, things that you didn't necessarily need because your boss had one.
Yeah,
it's like,
and it adds up as well, doesn't it?
It does, and at the end of the day, if you're subcontracting, you're employed or whatever, and you're on a wage where you don't have to spend £1,000 on this chaser tool or whatnot, but when you're running your own business, that £1,000 investment into that can save you time. And it's all about reinvesting again, like we're saying. But that £1,000 investment will save you time and you earn more money. So with tools, and this sort of goes back to the accountant side of things, are there things like with your tools, your equipment, that you can claim something back through your accounts to help you? Yeah, so I believe, I mean, don't quote me on this. I'm sure my accountant's going, you should know this. Everything that's used for work is definitely tax deductible, and obviously if you're VAT registered, you get all your money back anyway. So it's classed as a tool for work, like a van would be. So if you're invested in getting your kit, you know, screwdrivers, be it your chop saws or, you know, your drills and whatnot, you will get all your tax benefits back and your VAT and stuff like that. So it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? I mean, we all need tools to work. You need the right tool for the job.
But we want the good ones, don't we?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good tool. Yeah.
I think I've said this before. It always reminds me, when you buy new tools, it's like going to Argos when you was a kid, and you wait for your orders to come down, and you're like that. Yeah.
I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, there's a suspect package, I think, every week in the hallway, and I don't think my missus is too happy about it.
It's something you probably never need, but you want, so that's okay.
Yeah. I love a tool splash out, but yeah, it's good.
But sort of back to that question, were there any tools or equipment in particular that you had to get, that you needed to get you started?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing domestic, it's a no-brainer to get a chasing tool. As I say, like, that's one of the most important tools you can have. Who wants to chain drill a wall out and then start chopping it out with a hammer and bolster? I mean, we used to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's labour intensive as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, anything time saving, so something like that, obviously you're going to need your drills and your standard drills, screwdrivers, basic kit really. To be honest, if you're doing domestic electrics, it is pretty bog standard with what you need, which, if you're working in the industry already, you're going to have majority of the kit you would need. But if you're doing first fix loft, for example, and you're doing some twin and earth clipping, I've just recently bought myself one of those Milwaukee staple guns. Absolute genius, time saving, complies with the regs because they're metal fastened, and that to me could save you a day clipping cable. So that is an important tool to have for me now.
Yeah,
so
and I suppose at the start it might not have seemed like a necessary one either, would it? But
no, exactly that. But if you can just literally clip a cable whilst the amount of time you save with that, that's a must-have for me. So, anything that saves you time, get it.
What about vans? Because I know some people will go in they might be working out their car, they might be leasing, they might be buying. What was the option for you?
So I did originally buy one, and we went down a route of just having an asset. And also, if you sort of, if you own the van and someone goes into the back of it, or you scratch it, or whatever.
Which you hear too many times.
And it does happen. It's a nightmare. I'm still looking for the person who's done mine recently, but there you go. But it's one of those things that if you own the van, you're kind of a little bit less fragile with it, I'd say. It's at the end of the day, it's a tool for work. You go to and from work. I know some people absolutely adore and worship their vans, and I love some of the vans I see. It's incredible. But I went down the route of leasing eventually, because the first one we bought was an absolute nightmare. It cost me a fortune in repairs, and I think the engine went, and just the outlay was so huge. When I compared the money I invested to buy it with the repairs within the first 6 months I had it against the regular payment of like £300 plus VAT a month for a brand new van that I didn't have to worry about.
Yeah, and a lot of the expenses are covered or included, aren't they? So
I'm VAT registered, so I got the VAT back. It's a tool for work, so you get the tax back. It's a brand new van. I haven't got MOT or tax for the first 3 years. So it was like...
It's all added savings. What might seem high at the start, it's added savings.
Exactly.
But things like your tyres and brakes, I'm assuming they're not going to be included in your lease agreement.
So you can get a maintenance package for some things. So I think it's like an extra additional amount or whatever, but it usually covers majority of it. But I think wear and tear of basic tyres and things like that, like window wipers and things like that, it's easy to replace. But I think it covers the majority. But for me, it's one of those things, at the minute I'm leasing, but I will buy my next van because, again, at the start, your situation changes. When I bought that van and I was investing loads of money, I'm thinking, I can't afford for this to happen again because I'm going to be putting all of my money in this van and it won't even work. Or I can have a safe bet and just know what I'm going to be paying for a van that I don't have to worry about. So it's situation changes. But now I've got to the stage where it's like, I'd rather buy a van and, if it gets knocked and whatever, I can just leave it as it is.
That's interesting, actually, because I imagine a lot of people will probably, at the start, especially if they're thinking about setting up on their own, they might be thinking about the other way, right? I'll buy a cheap runaround to get me going, and then when I can afford, I'll lease. And maybe you might want to be doing, not buying a cheap runaround, but do it the other way around, lease to start, get you started because you're going to be looked after, and if things go wrong, you've got some insurance there.
Exactly that. I think if you can budget to have that and not worry about it, it's so important. I mean, everyone's got a van or a car or some sort of vehicle, and we know they're not always 100%. And if you can guarantee that payment's going to be the same for 3 years and not have to worry about it. It's a lot
peace
of your
mind as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And when you're setting up and you don't know exactly what's coming in every week or every month, having some peace of mind of knowing what's going out is one thing, especially.
Exactly.
Isn't it? So,
I mean, having a quiet period and then your van blows up. It's not ideal, is it?
No.
So, yeah.
Let's talk about hurdles and sort of obstacles that may have, stopped you in your tracks or slowed you down in the early start of setting up your own business.
So, I mean, obviously, there's loads that can get in your way. I mean, the main hurdle for me was, confidence and can I do it? Like the mental side of things.
Of running the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, when you go, I'm going to run a business, it's all really like well and good that you've got this confidence. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. Then you actually put yourself in those shoes and then you think, oh my God, can I do this? Am I doing it right? Panic, overthinking, you get all of these things. So that's a massive hurdle that you have to get over, I think. But you sort of find your feet eventually as it goes on, and it's all a learning game, I think. You just take it step by step. But for me, that is a massive one to get over. And then obviously filling your diary, keeping yourself busy, making sure that you go to work every day, making sure that you're pricing things right, I think is really important. Because like everyone, you always have some sort of structure or a price or a day rate or whatever you do. But then you question yourself, is that right? Am I charging enough? Am I too cheap? Am I winning these jobs because I'm too cheap? Or have they said no because I'm too expensive? And it's all like trial and error.
I hear that a lot of people saying, again, they probably start out charging quite little, probably undervaluing themselves, and it's not a good thing really. And then they've increased their prices, not to be greedy, but because that's their worth. It's not just their day rate, it's everything else that comes with running a business and your knowledge and your experience. And it might also put you in a bracket where you're doing better jobs that are going to be better paid. I think if you're a big, say, architect or a construction firm, and you've got someone quoting really cheap, someone quoting a little bit more than you'd probably think, I'd imagine, I could be naive here, thinking that person might actually be more inclined to go with the expensive person than the cheap person, because they want someone who's professional, who's going to do a good job. Not saying that's going to be the choice for everyone.
I completely agree with you, and you are 100% right. In my opinion, that's exactly how I see it as well. We had a big sort of site, it was about 4 new builds, and we sort of went into it with the attitude of, we really want this work. This work's going to keep us really busy. We've got 4 guys. It's going to be a lovely little job to include with what we have going on already. We really want it. And when it come down to the pricing aspect of it, we're thinking we're going in with a big property developing company. We know there's going to be all of these big firms that are charging, in my eyes, it's fair, but these ridiculous sums to what we're charging. So it was really hard for us to sort of price it. And I think what we did, we sort of went through all these different obstacles and hurdles of talking to other companies and, what would you charge for stuff like that? People we knew, what roughly would it cost for a 4-bedroom house and things like that, just doing some market research really. Yeah. And then what we found is, with these bigger projects that people allow for unforeseen sort of circumstances that might turn up, like delays or hold-ups, things like that. People would actually allow like a percentage for that to sort of cover themselves. So when we went in with our original price, we didn't allow for that factor, and we were coming out sort of 10 grand cheaper than a lot of these other companies. But then when we put it in, we were sort of around about the same sort of figure. So it was really interesting to find that out.
And that's important to sort of bear in mind as well, isn't it? Because you know what it's like whenever you're on a domestic property or anything, it's so easy to uncover something bad, whether that's bad electrics or actual the fabric of the building. That could put you back massively. And if you've quoted a certain amount of time or even a certain amount of budget for that job, you could get yourself in trouble quite quickly.
It's really, really scary sometimes because it does happen a lot. You're priced to do a job, for example, like exactly what you just said. Sometimes you go into a loft to put spotlights in on a first floor in a house, and there's just junction box after junction box, all the insulation and everything. And you've gone in and said, I'll do your spotlights for X amount per point. And then you go up in the loft and you think, oh my God, you know, this is going to take a hell of a lot longer. We need to rip this all out. There's extras and stuff like that. So it is really important to sort of cover that little bit of, you know, unforeseen sort of situations. Yeah. So, yeah.
Did you find, when you were talking to other companies in the area, sort of saying like, what would you charge?
Yeah.
Did you find there was any sort of, well, I'm not telling you, or were people quite forthcoming with that?
Yeah, I mean, some people like it's so helpful, you know. You'll meet like the nicest of people, and they're people that I will go to regularly. If you ever need advice or a little bit of confidence or whatever, if you're doing a project and you think I need some advice, you go to that person. But you always get that one person who's just like, well, you should know that sort of thing, and you just think, cheers. Yeah. But you know, in my eyes, we're all in the same industry. We should be helping each other, but not everyone sees it that way.
No, I can relate to that one. Did you find sort of bolts on from that as well? And I know you said you were gaining work from like the building management companies and people like that, and previous employers as well. But did you ever find it was difficult gaining trust from new clients? Because I suppose, especially for domestic, to allow someone to come into your own home to do work and to pay an honest price, that's difficult for some people. Yeah. Not everyone's in great financial situations, but it's a necessity, and especially for safety reasons, to get an electrician into your house. Yes. So did you ever find, especially, it was difficult to sort of build that trust?
It is. I mean, you know, everyone's different, obviously. Some customers you'll get some customers the nicest people in the world. Like, I'm not saying, you know, some of my customers aren't, but, you know, but you just meet some really, really nice people. And, you know, I'm quite a people person. So when I come in, I can socialise with certain people. Some people you can't, so it's quite harder. But I always find trust is built on your personality and things like that. You know, if I come into someone's house acting all shady and being rude and, do you know what I mean, sort of a bit standoffish, I think people wouldn't trust you at all. Yeah. If you're coming in being friendly and professional and stuff, I think you kind of give off that vibe anyway. Yeah. But yeah, it's hugely important to build trust up, and I always try to get the customer on your side before you do anything, because obviously, like you say, you're working in their house, they're paying money. You know, it's not cheap, is it? Let's be honest. With the cost of living and everything that's happening at the minute, you know, you need to make sure that customer completely trusts you and knows that you're going to do a professional job for them.
Do you find that's the same when you're going into commercial or any other industries?
Yeah, I mean, for some of the building management companies we do, I think that sort of relationship I would have with the client is not really there as much. Whereas in the domestic, obviously you'll meet the owner of the house and you will have that relationship.
They're watching you through like the cupboard and stuff like that.
That's it. Yeah, you do get sounds in there, so it's not off-putting at all, is it? But that for the building management company, you know, we were talking earlier about the EICRs and stuff. A building management company, we say, I've got X amount of buildings, I need you to do EICRs on commonways, for example, and then they just send you and
just crack on.
And it's, you know, they don't necessarily know you don't know the client, and you're in there. So there's, I
suppose that's not a bad thing, because you know you can just crack on, put your invoice in, and off
you're left
you go.
And away you go.
As long as you're doing a good job.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're only as good as your last job, and obviously you've got this job hopefully based on recommendation or word of mouth or whatever, and you've been put there for a reason. But you know, with the customer, when you're working on someone's house, you have that, you know, face-to-face relationship. So.
Yeah. I think what you just said, you're only as good as your last job. That is something that it rings for me, especially because I think no matter what you do, whatever trade you're in, that is important. And I think everyone's been there. You've done some outstanding work, and you might have found on the one job because of time or what. You might self-admittedly at some point have cut a corner here and there, and afterwards you beat yourself up for it, thinking, no, I'm better than that. I should be doing better than that. Yeah. And as long as you've got that mentality of, I want to be doing better than that, I think you're in the right place. If you're happy to be cutting corners, you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be doing it, and I agree with that as well. And it's so important for me. And if we have anyone work for us, that's exactly what I would say to them. You know, if you're not happy with it, sort it, do it, because you are only as good as your last job, and it's so important to have that instilled. For me, I would literally, even if I installed a socket and I thought to myself, oh, I'm having a bit of a tired day, I've got loads of stress on, pressured, and I do it, and then I turn around and I see it and it's on the wonk, I wouldn't then go, I'll leave it. I'll have to sort that, because if I didn't, I would go home and I'd be laying in bed going, I should have sorted that. And that's the sort of mentality I think you need to have. And I think something so simple like levelling a socket, I know it sounds really silly, but something like that.
It's what people notice as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just having that level of like sort of professionalism and being a bit of a perfectionist. I think you're a trade, you're a skilled tradesman. You know, this is what you get paid for. This is what you should be doing. That's the level of work you should be getting.
Exactly, and that goes back to saying about making sure you leave enough time for jobs as well, because people cut corners when there's obstacles in the way as well, don't they? And if you haven't allocated enough time to do something, even if you, like you say, you've quoted to come in and change a few downlights, should be nice and easy, and then you get up there and there's a rat's nest or whatever, you're like, right, I ain't got enough time for this, make enough time for that.
Exactly that. It's really important to do so, really important, because you can just burn yourself big time.
Yeah. Were there ever times in the early days when you're not getting work as often as you'd like, where you thought, maybe, am I doing the right thing? Could I just then go work for another firm and where I know I've got work coming in?
Yeah, happens often, to be fair. Well, it did in the start. It was just, you would have a diary 2-3 weeks work, and then you'd start encroaching towards the end of that. And then you've got this gap and you're thinking, what are we doing wrong? We need to change something. We're not doing it right. We must be doing something wrong. Are we too expensive? And you get yourself into this real big rut. But what I found was really important is just sort of, instead of thinking, am I doing it wrong, sort of changing what you're doing to something positive. So I think at the time when we first started, I was thinking, how are we going to drum up work? Instead of thinking, are we too expensive and stuff, I was thinking, well, why not I'd make a flyer and maybe just, I know it sounds silly, but just go around your local area and start putting it in and saying, you know, discount up to 500 quid, 20% off or whatever, just to try and drum up work, or, you know, putting your name about anywhere, going to local shops, putting your business cards in. It does work. It does work. I know it's crazy to think that you're going around like putting a leaflet through someone's door, but it does get your name about, and you do get calls.
Yeah.
It's just, you just get into a rut sometimes. It's really hard. You go in on yourself. You always attack yourself, I think, when it gets like that. Yeah.
You've built quite a good sort of network, haven't you, in your area?
Yeah, I mean, we're in with quite a few sort of builders and tradesmen and stuff like that, and we used to do quite a lot of estate agents, but we sort of come away from that now. But yeah, I'm incredibly thankful to all of it. I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Do you ever find they helped you out with the start? Are you finding you're sort of repaying that and thinking, right, I can't do that job, I just haven't got the time, I'm going to pass it on to this person or so on, or I'm going to recommend this builder for...
Yeah, I mean, for recommendation, I would always recommend the people that use me, always. That's a given. But when it comes to the work they give me, I can't say no.
Yeah.
I literally can't say no, I'll find time.
Just find it in there.
Yeah, the boys hate it sometimes, but, you know, we'll be blocked up 6 weeks solid, and it'll be like, I forgot to put this job in with you, but it needs to be first fixed next week. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we've got to fit this in. And they're like, oh, are you too busy? We can get something. No, we'll do it. And you just chuck it in, and I become flavour of the month on the company.
Yeah,
so
just not at home.
Yeah, well, that's it, exactly. Yeah, but it's worth doing. I think these people that look after you, it's really important you look after them. It's all about give and take with things like that. And
how do you balance that though? I mean, we've all got home lives and things like that. So how do you find, if you're thinking, right, I'm going to make time to do that job, how's that affect things?
It's not pretty, I must admit. I mean,
you're in the doghouse already.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, Rose. But it's tough. I mean, sometimes you do get to that stage where you think, you know, it's 4 o'clock now, 4:30. I should be thinking about going home, and instead you're sort of packing your bags up to travel, sort of 45 minutes to go do an evening job, and then you think, oh, okay, one evening's all right, and then next thing you know, you've done 3 evenings, and then you come back and then you're on your laptop, and I'm thinking, oh my God,
where's all the stuff gone?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's really hard, actually. I must admit, that's the one bit that you don't really get to see, is the bit after the work. It is hard to find that work-life balance, and it's something I must admit I probably need to work on a little bit more, because I am so dedicated to my craft and what I do, because I love it. and it's my name and my reputation. So I really concentrate and give my all to it. But yeah, it does dominate your life a lot.
Do you think that'll mean you're getting to the point where you might want to bring someone else in?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really important. And for me, I'm sure Lee would laugh at it because I've never admitted it, but I would be to the point where I'm such a control freak, that I wouldn't want to bring someone else in because I'd want to manage it all myself. But I know hands down it would be so much easier to get someone in so I can take a little bit back and then, you know.
There you go. If you're down in Brighton, Worthing, those areas, get in contact. Sam needs someone desperately. He might be a control freak to start, but he'll ease off eventually.
I'm friendly, don't worry.
One of my last questions for this episode, I wanted to talk about social media, and it's quite hit and miss this question when I speak to people. Some people say, no, don't want anything to do with it. You get a lot of people just like sending photos of a switch saying, have I done this right? Or can you tell me about this? And they don't want any part of it. Other people, like you said, it's brought in quite a bit of work for you.
It's the best thing I've done, honestly. Like I highly praise social media for business. It's fantastic. It's the best thing you can do. Free advertisement, engagement with loads of people, clients, builders, you name it, companies. You know, I'm regularly in contact with you guys through advice or just general chit chat and whatnot. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's also an online portfolio of all your work. I find it so important when I go to a job and you're talking to Mrs. Smith about all of these lights and she's thinking, what are you on about? Because to us, we know what we're talking about. To them, they're thinking, what? So for me to go, well, this is what we've done on another job. Oh, well, I've got Instagram, I can follow you. And then they can see all of your work and get ideas. And they say, oh, I like what you did there. Can we have that? It's amazing. I don't know why people aren't doing it. If you're not doing it, you should do it 100%. It's incredible. And the work that comes through it is incredible.
I think from
a
personal point of view as well, if you're a client, if you go back, say, 20, 30 years when there weren't social media and you are literally just looking at someone's advert or a word of mouth, that's as much as you've got. Whereas if you can go onto a contractor's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you can see reviews, you can see people have tagged that person, actual other customers who are saying this person's brilliant, look at the amazing work they've done. It helps build trust, in my opinion, and that's only going to be good for the industry as a whole, at drumming up work, and hopefully it means less people trying to bodge things themselves as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I mean, you see the fluidity of someone's whole job or their work. So you see it in first fix stage, you see it in chasing out and ripping apart someone's house and then showing them what the finished product is. And then also the collaborations and like the networking you're doing with other companies. You know, we work with certain builders and they have Instagram and we'll tag them in or Facebook and whatnot. And it's amazing the amount of like the reach and the amount of people that you can get to just from a single post. Is incredible.
The only downfall is if your profile picture is you with like Gucci outfits whilst you're doing your work and the Bentley in the background. That's when you know they're charging too much.
That's true.
Anyway, Sam, that brings us to a conclusion for this episode. Genuinely, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And like I said before, we've had Sam on the show and his dog, so we might put a little clip of that. We've had Sam on the show before, and that was part of our job routes for electricians. And as always, it's there to help you. So if you want to check out those episodes, check out that whole series where we're talking about how you as an electrician, you don't have to stick with the one position you're in. There are so many different routes available to you, which a lot of you probably already know, but if it's of help for a small percentage of you, then brilliant. That's what we're here for. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button below. And that's all from me and Sam.
Thank you.